Hi everyone. Today I want to answer a question or a comment that was made by one of the people that watched my last video on Facebook. Huge thanks for making these comments or observations or questions because they really prompt me to dig into what I know and all of the understanding that I've accumulated over 27 years in this profession. So the question that was asked was about a very serious condition, which is bulimia and the impact of bulimia on teeth. So what I've decided to do is actually handle this a little bit differently. I'm going to do a two-parter on the impacts of stomach acid on teeth. Now, this is a really interesting thing. We have a mouth which is attached to the stomach through the esophagus. The mouth prefers or works best with a slightly alkaline environment, or at least a neutral environment. And the stomach, as we all probably know, is something that really uses acid to handle the next phase in food digestion. So the mouth is really, as I said before, an alkaline environment. Really, the mouth is designed to break down carbohydrates. We form the food, we swallow it, it goes into the stomach, and then the stomach produces acid, which breaks down the proteins and the fats. I can kind of beg ignorance on that because pretty much from here down is out of my area. So let's go back to the topic, stomach acid. Stomach acid has an incredibly bad impact on teeth. As I've said before, teeth are a calcified substance, and like any calcium salt or calcium substrate, calcium-based chemical, they are extremely susceptible to damage by acids. So we have this extremely acidic bag of an organ sitting underneath the mouth, and they're connected to each other through the esophagus. So as you can imagine, there are times when stomach acid comes up the esophagus and impacts on the teeth. So today is part one, and what I want to talk about today in relation to teeth and stomach acid is vomiting. I know, I pick great subject matter, don't I? But as we know, vomiting is a part of life, and it's not a very nice part of life at all. And of course, when we vomit, what happens is that the stomach contents come up and wash across the teeth. And the pH of stomach acid is extremely low. It's a very, very acidic substance, probably one of the most acidic things your teeth will be exposed to, even more so than soft drink. Its pH is about 1, where 0 is as acidic as something can possibly be, and 7 is neutral and quite safe for teeth. So what causes vomiting? Well, there are many things that cause vomiting. Gastric infections, with severe stomach ulceration, you can get a lot of vomiting. I can't even begin to talk about the number of medical conditions in which vomiting is a side effect. The ones we most commonly experience, though, in day-to-day life would be a gastrointestinal infection, stomach ulcers, not so common to let them get to that point, but it's possible. And of course, another big one, which is pregnancy. And it's not unusual for women to experience extreme amounts of nausea and vomiting. Now, for a lot of women, that's in the first trimester of pregnancy, and we call it morning sickness. But there are some women who have morning sickness pretty much from the minute they conceive all the way through their entire pregnancy. And boy, that's extremely difficult. I'm going to talk a little bit more about pregnancy in a moment. And of course, the other condition we have where vomiting can be something that people do for indeed many, many years of their life is the condition bulimia. And bulimia is self-induced vomiting. Now, in all of these conditions, really, they require very much the same approach. But in the issue of bulimia, it's very important that you do seek support from your dentist. You do need to be honest and talk about it. There are signs that we can pick up that do indicate that you may have bulimia. Always I suggest taking an open approach. And what you want to do is find a dentist who's going to treat you very respectfully and sensitively and zero judgment. That's the last thing you need if you have the condition bulimia. And don't be shy to seek the level of support you need. You need someone who's going to work with you and help you do everything possible to minimize the harm of that condition on your teeth. So, the problem of vomiting, whether you have bulimia or whether you have a course of a gastric infection and you have terrible vomiting for a number of days, really you want to treat it yourself in the same way. And that is, as soon as you have had the episode of vomiting, you want to rinse your mouth out as thoroughly as you can. Do not brush your teeth. You will want to brush your teeth, but don't. Straight afterwards, your teeth are at their absolute most vulnerable. And so that's the time when you need to take the best care of them you possibly can. You need to be as gentle as you possibly can. Now, a lot of dentists will recommend various products. Some of them are fluoride-based. Some of them are dairy-based. It's funny, I'm personally not a great fan of using dairy-based products, but what you want to do is treat your teeth as soon as you can after vomiting with some sort of topical treatment, topical meaning something you put on. Even using your toothpaste will help. Just apply it, don't brush it, put it on with your finger, particularly on the inside surfaces of your top teeth. It's a very difficult thing if you're experiencing a lot of nausea, and extremely difficult if you are going through pregnancy for a number of reasons. And let's talk about pregnancy. So one of the particular things they've discovered in pregnancy is that around the second trimester, saliva flow decreases. Now, saliva is one of the most protective agents we have in our body. The thing about saliva, though, is it's very delicate, and there's only a small amount of it that we produce at any given time. So I think the resting flow rate of saliva, now I'm testing myself, aren't I? It's about 0.4 of a mil per minute. That's not much. We don't make a lot of saliva, but when we vomit, that's a lot of acid. It's a huge volume, and the saliva just can't possibly counteract it. So in pregnancy, as I said, there's that point at which saliva production reduces, and so your teeth are actually a little bit more vulnerable. The other thing I've had many pregnant women tell me over the years is they cannot brush their teeth. For some of them, it's the toothpaste. The intensity of it is too strong, and it just literally makes them want to throw up. For other women, it's the size of the toothbrush. Their sensitivity in their mouth, the gag reflex, the reflex that produces vomiting, becomes far more intense. So, gosh, what do you do if you're pregnant? Always I'm going to recommend, you can feel it coming, the lowest sugar diet you can possibly have. The other thing that you need to do is to find the tiniest, smallest toothbrush you can find. You need to try different toothpaste to find the one that works for you. If mint makes you want to be sick, then you need to look at perhaps a lemon-flavoured toothpaste, although I say lemon and I think, gosh, usually it's flavoured with lemon oil, not with lemon juice, so it's not an acidity problem. Just experiment and explore different brands until you find the toothpaste that you can cope with. Use a very small amount of toothpaste, and here's the key, slow your brushing right down. If you're experiencing nausea, and for any person out there, by the way, with a sensitive gag reflex, slow down your brushing. Gag reflex is also a protective reflex. It's designed to protect our throat and our airway from harm. So if you brush fast and hard, you're going to be triggering that reflex and making yourself more likely to vomit. slow it down, be very delicate, inch around your mouth, take time. Yes, I know we're busy, we're all busy, but I can't recommend highly enough a very slow and delicate approach to minimize that urge to gag. So that's really the key for pregnant women. You need to brush, you need to look after your teeth, but that vomiting problem can be a huge one. Work with your dentist. Even if you've had, for example, I know I've had one relative that had a lot of vomiting with a chronic stomach condition. You've got to talk to your dentist. Get us on side. We've got lots of things that we can offer you by way of support. We can give you a lot of advice and tips and things that your doctors don't know. The gastroenterologists, they look after your stomach. They're not really aware of what you need in your mouth. The problem with chronic vomiting, if it goes on for too long, is it strips the enamel away, produces very sensitive teeth. But if you do get a lot of vomiting, and this also applies to everything I've said about acids, if you have a high acid diet, you eat a lot of citrus fruit, what it tends to do is it makes a very friendly environment for the bacteria that make holes in teeth. Those bacteria are referred to as acidophiles. Acido meaning acidity and phile meaning friend or loving. So they love an acidic environment. So strangely enough, if you go through a long period of vomiting, or if you're, as I said, you're someone who likes a very acidic diet, you're tending to favour the breeds of bacteria that also like to make holes. So that's why it's important not to ignore these things. It's important not to think, oh, the dentist doesn't need to know that. Yeah, we do. We do need to know, because when we know, we can actually get activated and tell you the things that you need to know as well. So I hope I've answered the question, or at least responded to the comment with some information that may help. The key always when you are a patient of dentists is to make sure that you wring as much information out of us as you always can, and that you get the sensitive and understanding support you need in treatment of whatever your general well-being is and your specific oral healthcare needs are. Anyway, feel free to go ahead, make the comments and the questions. My next talk will be on the other aspect of stomach acid on teeth, which will be acid reflux, coming soon. Bye everyone.